If you've ever watched a video on this channel, you know that what we are after here is philosophy as a way of life, something that can guide us daily through the ups and downs of life and give us direction, purpose, meaning, dare I say, even happiness, away from the sort of arguing and dissecting of premises and thought experiments and paradoxes of some of those who approach things more theoretically. We like to see how we can best lead our life and what we can do to pass it on to others. And we're constantly after mutualities, not that which separates us, but that which we have in common, which, as I like to say here, are universal and timeless ideas. And one of those universal and timeless concepts that have always been with humanity and concern us every single day, affect us in some way or another in our everyday daily lives, is the whole concept of desire. And I know it's a big subject, and I know it can be painful to talk about it, but I think in our pursuit of knowing ourselves better and to live a life more according to reason, in order to be able to accept humbly and let go easily, I think it's an important topic to finally get a grip of, because it, like I said, it concerns us every single day of our lives, but we seem to be continually confused and at odds with it, and we never know what to do when desire strikes once again. And I think the first and most important realization we can have about desire is that it makes two promises: pleasure and freedom. And let's agree on this, that if we find in our discussion that desire keeps these two promises, that we should devote ourselves fully to chasing our desires, to letting them overwhelm us, because clearly they're very good for us. Who wouldn't want pleasure and freedom? But vice versa, that if it fails to be delivering on these promises, that we notice in our lives that it keeps failing to deliver these promises, that we should never look at it again, and that we should never allow it, and that we should always hold that against it. And I am not going to bother you with any kind of thought experiments or theoreticals. I'm going to pull an example, an analogy right from daily life to see if desire really keeps these two promises or not. Does it not happen almost daily? When we are contradicted, when we are told that we're wrong, that we're called liars, essentially, in some way or shape or form, we experience disagreements. Is it not then that desire creeps up slowly and really entices us to respond back, to prove the other person wrong, to make it right, to show everyone around us that this person is not right in contradicting us? Doesn't it say, you have just the perfect thing to say? If you say it right now or at this time in this way, you will totally disprove what they're saying, and you will have done the right thing. After all, it's not a good idea to let them get away with this. And why should they be able to get away with saying that you're wrong or to disagree with you when they have no right to do so? That moment will be very pleasurable. There's the first promise. And also that it will free us from that bitterness that we feel, that resentment that we feel towards this person, and perhaps the shame or guilt that we feel from other people getting the wrong impression of us. And so we're going to set all of that straight and we're going to be freed from that burden, from that thing that is not right in this world, from that injustice that we're experiencing. And so, combined with these two promises of pleasure and freedom, liberty, we go engage this person or this group of people or this anonymous person on the internet in comments, whatever it may be. And as soon as we do that, what happens is that momentary satisfaction eludes us, and that freedom eludes us, because the other person or the other people are driven by the exact same desire. You come back, they feel like they have to come back with something. And then you, driven on by the same promises, entrenched even more and even more angry and frustrated at this person or at this situation, continue and continue and continue. And at the end, we realize, or rather all throughout, that we are now consumed by anger. We are consumed by jealousy, by frustration, by bitterness. And we resent the whole situation. We resent ourselves, we resent the other person. And it's much more difficult now to abstain from the argument, to say, okay, I'm out, whatever may come. And don't we spend hours, days, weeks, months, years in this condition? Not necessarily in the same argument with the same person, but in arguments and battles and fights in general. And that's the other thing. It's not that we never get to prove anyone wrong and restore justice in the world, but that even when we do, that promised pleasure lasts only but a moment, if at all. Because soon, there's the next challenger. There's the next person who's contradicting us, or there's the next person who's doing something unjust to us or someone that we love. And so there goes that supposed pleasure of doing the right thing, of setting things right in the world, of giving people what they deserve, of serving justice. And since we are constantly jumping from one of these battles onto another, and we can't let go, we can neither let go the one that we're in now, nor the next one that's going to entice us. And there goes our liberty. There goes our freedom. Because no one overwhelmed by desire is in control. There's that rational part of us that says, let it be. It's not worth it. And there's a constant fight between desire and our more reasoned and reasonable moments, which clearly is evidence that desire is something that happens to us, that's outside of us, and that there's also something inside of us that is being overwhelmed, that is being taken charge of. And we might call that our will. And when that will gets overwhelmed by desire, that's when we get into all the situations and do all the things that we later come to regret. Anger is just the same way. For example, you can look again from daily life, road rage. That's anger. Whatever anger tells us in that moment is either illegal or regrettable or both. And once we're out of it, we say, wow, I can't believe I did that. I regret having said that. I regret having done that. And they all happen to be things that we would never do in a calm, reasonable moment. So clearly, something external is overwhelming us, the internal, and takes charge of us, and we lose control. Does that sound like freedom? Every single time we give in to desire, again, our language is full of already its true nature. When we say it overwhelms us, it overcomes us. We say, it wasn't me that was doing that. I was so filled with rage and anger or with this desire of pursuing something. I was beside myself. We have all these expressions for this phenomenon. Some people even argue that they're not responsible in their moments of desire. And that overwhelmness, that an external taking charge and control of us, is literally the definition of slavery. It's the opposite of freedom. And we're not shy of examples. We can't give endless examples. I wanted to pull one thing out of our daily lives that we all really know very well about. But put in any example that you want, consider any desire, and see that every time we give into it, it promises us pleasure and liberty, but instead serves us misery and slavery. This is the true nature of desire. So truly, every single time we desire something, we let that desire happen because we think it's going to lead to greater happiness and freedom. And each time we become more bitter, we regret, we resent, and we become less free. That which promises us pleasure gives us misery. That which promises us freedom shackles us to itself. And now that we see the true nature of desire, and now that we see what it promises and what it really gives us, next time it comes, we will say, you are a liar, you're a deceiver. And just like any other person that we have in our lives who keeps promising things and breaks their promises and straight up lies into our faces, we have no interest with associating with them anymore, and we don't believe them anymore. But because we don't hold desire, what happens within us, what overwhelms us, to the same standard and to the same reason and logic, because we lose awareness, we lose reason when desire overwhelms us. So each time we think this is something new, each time we think it might be different, and each time we believe it, not because we assent to it, not because we reasonably considered it, but because it overcomes us. But there are, of course, times in our life when desire leaves us alone, those times in between desires. And that's where we need to do what I call the work of life, which is this philosophy as a way of life, which looks at things with reason, the unique human capability of reason. Sees the true nature of things, strips them bare of their appearances, and sees them for what they really are, so that next time when they arise, I am ready. So I hope to have caught you in between two desires, and I want to remind you that these videos are only a little part of what I do. I also produce writings every single week that I intend to have the same effect as these videos, but of course in a very different way. It's something that you can read on your own time and be reminded of certain other things during that week. And it's supposed to get you to think about such timeless and universal ideas in a very different way. And this is in my newsletter, which contains the newest video, these writings that I just talked about, my favorite quote of the week, my monthly book recommendations, all things that are supposed to fortify you in these moments in between these attacks, whether it's desire, anger, or other things that is part of our human condition and makes us stronger. I gather the best insights that I come across that week and I put them all in there. So I encourage you to sign up for that. If you'd like, you can go to the website. All the links are down below, and sign up for that. I saw a lack of this exact weekly fortification in the world, so I decided to make one. And it's everything I produce in one place. But either way, I hope to have shown you once again that unlike the promises of desire, philosophy never breaks its promises.